What would happen if you tried to hit a baseball pitched at 90% the speed of light? Let's set aside the question of how got the baseball moving that fast. Well, suppose it's a normal pitch, except in the instant the pitcher releases the ball, it magically oscillates to zero point 0.9 C. From that point inward, everything proceeds according to normal physics. The answer turns out to be a lot of things, and they all happen very quickly, and it doesn't end well for the batter or the pitcher. I sat down with some physics books, an O'Lanrian action figure, and a bunch of videotapes off nuclear tests and tried to sort it all out. What follows is my best guess at a nanosecond be nanosecond portrait. The ball would be going so fast that everything else would be practically stationary. Even the molecules in the air would stand still. Air molecules would vibrate back and forth at a few hundred miles per hour, but the ball would be moving through them at 600 million miles per hour. This means that, as far as the ball is concerned, they would just be hanging there, frozen. The ideas of aerodynamics will apply here. Normally, air would flow around anything moving through it, but the air molecules in front of this ball wouldn't have time to be jostled out of the way. Thebble would smack into them so hard that the atoms in the air molecules would actually fuse with the atoms in Thebble's surface. Each collision would release a burst off gamma rays and scattered particles. These gamma rays and debris would expand outward in a bubble centered on Thepiture's mound. They would start to tear apart the molecules in the air, ripping the electrons from the nucleon, turning the air in the stadium into an expanding bubble of incandescentism. The wall of this bubble would approach Thebiter at about the speed of flight, only slightly ahead of ball itself. The constant fusion at Thefron of the ball would push back on it, slowing it down, as if the ball were a rocket flying tail first while firing its engines. Unfortunately, Thebble would be going so fast that even the tremendous force from this ongoing thermonuclear explosion would barely slow it down at all. It would, however, start to eat away at the surface, blasting tiny fragments of Thebble in all directions. These fragments would be going so fast that when they hit air molecules, they would trigger 2 or 3 more rounds of fusion. After about 70 nanoseconds, a ball would arrive at home plate. The batter wouldn't even have seen the pitcher let go of the ball, since the light carrying that information would arrive at about the same time the ball would. Collisions with the air would have eaten the ball away almost completely, and it would now be a bullet-shaped cloud of expanding plasma, mainly carbon, oxygen, hydrogen, and nitrogen, ramming into the air and triggering more fusion as it went. The shell of X-rays would hit the batter first, and a handful of nanoseconds later, the debris cloud would hit. When it would reach home plate, the center of the cloud would still be moving at an appreciable fraction of the speed of light. It would hit bat first, but then Thebiter, plate, and catcher would all be scooped up and carried backward through the backstop as they disintegrated. The shell of rays and superheated plasma would expand outward and upward, swallowing the backstop, both teams, the stands, and the surrounding Jaeger all in the first microsecond. Suppose you're watching from a hilltop outside the city. The first thing you would see would be a blinding light, far outshining sun. This would gradually fade over the course of a few seconds, and a growing fireball would rise into a mushroom cloud. Then, with a great roar, the blast wave would arrive, tearing up trees and shredding houses. Everything within roughly a mile of the park would be leveled, and a firestorm would engulf the surrounding city. The baseball diamond, now a sizable crater, would be centered a few hundred feet behind the former location off backstop. Major League Baseball Rule 6.08b suggests that in this situation, the batter would be considered hit by pitch and would be eligible to advance to first base.